Hello, welcome back to another episode. This week is going to be about travel and connection. And of course, before we launch into that, we're going to check in on our weekly challenge from last week's episode and see how it went for everyone. So, just to recap, we had challenged you guys to, either join a sport, reach out to maybe a team that you wanted to look into, rec league and stuff like that. And then we also challenged you guys to reflect back on how like sports has been a big part of connection in your lives. So, or what that looked like kind of growing up, the impact they had on you guys. So, anybody want to kick us off with how the challenge went?
I can go first.
Okay, cool.
I am in the works, still going to continue to look for a volleyball team and how to get involved
Yeah,
and
yeah,
do
yeah.
that. And I talked to my sister about it because I think that's something
Mm,
her and I would really enjoy. So it's going to be an ongoing challenge for me, and I'll keep everyone in the loop. So it's in the works. I haven't found anything. I haven't fully followed through with it, so I'll name that too. But I'm a contemplator. I sit on things for a while, but I've been thinking about it.
mm,
And then just a fun one with the World Cup going on right now. Josh and I have been connecting a lot about that and trying to I've been trying to learn a little bit more about how it works and what that actually tournament looks like and all that, and kind of figuring out how the teams get also you have to qualify for the World Cup too. But so I'm just
mhm.
learning a lot about that, and Josh and I have been just talking a lot about it and doing our own little research and looking at all the teams and doing that. So it's been fun way for him and I to connect and just talk about the
Yeah,
World Cup and all that. So that's been a current one, but I will keep everyone updated on the volleyball. I'm gonna do it. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm glad you brought up the World Cup because I completely forgot, but I was like, holy cow, yeah. So also, fun fact, did you know that there's 104 or 106 matches, like games?
It's
It's,
that's I learned that
I,
yesterday that it's
yes,
so long.
yes, and I didn't
Mm-mm.
I mean, I knew it, lasted a long time, but I didn't realize there was over 100 different matches that these teams played, so that's just crazy to me, but so something that I've loved seeing on social media, this is more of kinda like a reflection of, how much sports plays a role in connection and stuff, was I think is it Tartan? The Tartan Army, the all the Scots. So, the Scotland was in the World Cup this year for the first time in, a
Wow.
long time, and so, basically, everyone's talking about how the Scottish have invaded America, and they're talking about all the really cool traditions that they're bringing from, Scotland over to America, and they're kind of engaging here, while they're visiting and stuff for the World Cup, and so, that has been really cool and fun to see how connected everyone is kind of, jumping on the Scottish bandwagon because, they're rowdy. They kind of strike me as maybe some
Oh yeah.
Philadelphians,
Yeah. Yeah, it
like,
gives that vibe.
yeah, so they put a traffic cone on the George Washington Monument, just very fun, interesting traditions and stuff that they've brought over to the United
Mm,
States
that's
while they're
fun.
here visiting and stuff. So, and I've enjoyed seeing how, a lot of foreigners traveled for the World Cup to US and they're experiencing not just, they're not experiencing New York, they're experiencing Boston, they're experiencing Atlanta, they're experiencing very different parts of the country because these, games are held across the country, not
Yeah.
just in one city. So they're, everyone's kind of in their own section of the United States. So they're all getting exposed to very different
Yeah.
settings.
Well, and the New York Knicks won for the first time in basketball in years. And so they've been throwing a 3-day party, and there's all these memes going around probably not the best time to be visiting New York because it's insane
Crazy.
in New York right now. Yeah, so that was interesting. There's been a bunch of memes about that and
Yes.
stuff. So they're
Yeah.
just getting to see that side of things too,
Yes.
then celebrate that and then be there for the World Cup. So
Yeah. Well, and so, we were talking about the, I guess, active part of the challenge. I haven't joined any sports leagues. I was on a soccer team, like a rec soccer team. And I will say something that got me connected to is now we're part of the One Knox Social. And so
oh,
we get
cool.
$10 tickets to the Knoxville soccer league team.
Mm,
Yeah. So
fun.
and so we've gotten to go to several other games for $10 because we played on the rec league for a season. So that's been a lot of fun.
That's
And then
really cool.
we went to Kearns and we watched the World Cup game, and the watch party was hosted by One Knox, which is the
Oh,
soccer
fun.
team. So
Yeah.
it was crazy. Anytime the US scored a goal, everyone just went wild. And the energy and
Fun.
atmosphere was just a lot of fun. So that I felt actually really connected to
Those are
sports
actually
this
really good
week.
examples,
Yeah,
yeah.
so but yeah. So that's, like I said, I'm not on a team right now. I am horseback riding. I am working on, my skills and stuff. I don't know how long that'll continue though since I'm pregnant, but I'm gonna ride for as long as I can.
Yeah, I think that's
So,
awesome that you've
yeah,
been doing that too.
yeah, yeah.
Gold star for you. You really, you excelled on this challenge this week. I'm proud
Thank
of
you.
you.
Thanks. Well, and this has all been, like, in the works too, so this
Yeah,
isn't something I just did.
but it was still
Something
like
but
really
yes,
relatable.
it just worked out timing-wise that this was our challenge. But
Is
yes.
the World Cup is the finals in Seattle, Washington, and then they host games throughout the US? Is that how that
I
works?
don't know so I don't know that there's, like, 'cause there's also games in Canada and there's games
Okay.
in, Mexico too.
Mhm.
So I don't know where, like, the final game is gonna take place at. I think Seattle, whenever I was reading the list, I think they were kinda, like, in the middle. So but yeah, there's, like, matches in Atlanta, there's matches in New York, there's been,
There's
several
some in
matches in
Philly,
LA, yeah, Philly,
bunch in
so
LA.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's several in Kansas City because 'cause they've got a
Okay.
massive
I didn't know that.
Kansas City has a massive soccer, like, base. They've got
Mhm.
a local or not a local, but a city team there that's really popular. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know it was that would be such a cool way to connect, and they're happening all over the place, and
yes.
I don't know anything about the World Cup, so
Yeah, yeah,
that sounds fun.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think for the challenge, nothing sports related, but in high school, like, my husband, Taylor, he was, like, really into doing track, and his parents
Mm,
basically gave him, like, an ultimatum, "You get a job or you go and do a sport," and he picked doing track, and it was, like, one of the best things he ever did for himself, and since he's training for the firefighter
yeah.
like, physical tests, we've been getting into running. So it's just been cool, like, that was a way I don't like running, but Taylor loves running. Like, I think he got to the point where it became meditative and enjoyable, and I never ran enough to where it became enjoyable. So I'm
Neither
really
have I.
I'm honestly excited because he loves it, like, and I think it's just been a cool way for us to connect, and it's, like, really hard work, and I love going to the gym and working out, so it's just another challenge, so
Yeah,
yeah, that's been a cool way for us to connect and me
yeah,
move my body. But I do wanna do things with volleyball. I've, looked into groups, but it's kinda confusing at first to, like, figure out, like, what league to choose and, like, a lot of them you have to pay for, so that's, like, a long-term thing for me too, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now that was actually something that kinda hung me up on the soccer league because you do have to pay, and I think it was, like, $65 to join a team, but you get, 8 games, and yeah, that's almost well, that's a little bit less than $10 a game, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, so but yeah, the cost piece is
Mhm.
definitely there too. So, but yeah. Alright, nice job. So, yeah, so this episode's gonna be about traveling. 'Cause I know we've all been on just some really cool epic trips. Uh, traveling was a big part of my life growing up, and I think it's just a really cool way to connect with the people that you're traveling with, but also the cultures and the people that you're traveling to, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So even if you're going for a vacation to the beach, you're gonna hit locals, you're gonna see, kind of how they live. I remember one of the biggest culture shocks I had was going to Hawaii. You hear a lot of things about Hawaii, and I'm like, okay, it's probably not actually that nice. But I'm telling you, and we went to Big Island, which I think is the like whenever I think of Big Island, I think of more agricultural, not necessarily large city. It's not like Maui or any of those
Mhm.
places where there's a lot of like buildings and more touristy things. Big Island is definitely still touristy, but it's more agricultural, it's more nature based. And so but people live slow
Mhm.
and just, like, leisurely. Like, the amount of people just leisurely out and about on Big Island. Even people who were farming, even people who were raising cattle, even people who were living there and making their living just seemed to just be like, "Yeah, it's sunny. We're gonna go swim for an hour, or we're gonna do this." And I'm like, "Dude, that must be so nice to just kinda drop what you're doing and go and swim," and, like, restaurants and their workers, a lot of restaurants only opened at certain times and then they were closed during certain parts of the day. And, if you're not working, go do whatever you want. So it just felt very, I don't know, very relaxed, very leisure. And I was
Mhm.
like, I told Brennan, I said, I would not mind living here actually at all. So, but
That, like, stark difference between that and then, like, being in a city. Like, I've
yes,
never been to Philly, so I can't say that, but, like, being in Chicago where everyone is moving so fast,
so
you don't
fast.
move fast enough, and, like,
Mhm.
that sounds phenomenal. Yeah. And I've, like, heard, like, hiking and just the views and just I couldn't imagine how
Yeah.
gorgeous it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I've always been like a person, I think I really do tend to appreciate both ways of living. I love being able to slow down. I love Like, we've got a little less than an acre of land, which isn't a lot, but it's enough for me to go home and sit out on my back porch and look at my backyard and not see any other houses. And so I'm like, "This is kinda nice." Like, I'm taking a deep breath, I'm kinda relaxing, I'm disconnecting, and I think you can do that anywhere, don't get me wrong, like, you've gotta be intentional with it. But I also enjoy Knoxville being 20 minutes away, where if I want to go to Kearns and watch the World
Yeah.
Cup game and be
Mhm.
involved in something with a lot of people and high energy, I can. Don't have to, but I can. So I like being with both, and
The
it's fun.
balance of
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I know obviously our topic is about travel, but I think that's just, something that travel has provided me is just those different perspectives. Like, people do live very differently depending on where you
Yeah,
go. And
of
Yeah.
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
And travel can be I go to a different country or to a different
Mhm.
state, but it also be, going 20 minutes away or like finding a new spot that you explore or like
Mhm.
going to the city next door. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can make it attainable. We can
Yes.
find a way. Yeah.
Yes. So I think my big question, and this is more fun, but I want to know what trip has been your all's just like standout trip in your head. Like, when you think of, traveling, which one comes to mind?
This is tricky because my trip, like, to Alaska was phenomenal, and it was the first time I got to, like, be out of the country because there was a stop in Canada. But honestly, my favorite trip growing up, like, all of our trips were always, like, centered on hiking, like, going to a national park or, like, going camping. So, like, last episode when I think it was last episode, you were talking about how you guys had an RV and, like, you would travel, or that was the
Mhm.
dog episode or pet
Mhm.
episode.
Yeah.
My 10-year anniversary with Taylor, we went, like, 3 hours away to, like, a new hiking spot, and I feel like that it's so much easier to attain those kind of trips versus,
Yes.
like, Alaska
Yes.
was, like, a once in a lifetime thing, but I think that one was just so it was so intimate and so special, and we were just doing the classic things that we love. Yeah, Alaska is also beautiful, but that one will always be my favorite trip, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what about you?
It's a real hard question
Yeah.
because every trip is so different, and
Mm.
I think there's highs and lows to every trip
That's a
too.
fair point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think my probably standout one is Greece was a big bucket list item
Oh,
for me. And I got to go to Greece, and my mom's, like, good friend in college, Greg, he lives in Ikaria, which is a small island in Greece, and it's a blue zone, which just means that people the average age and I need to fact check myself, but I think it's like 87 to 90s people live. Very old is
okay.
what is
Yeah.
that makes it considered a
Mm,
blue zone, and there's not
Gotcha.
many blue zones.
Yeah.
Their air quality is really good because there's not a lot of cars on the
Yeah.
island, so they have really good air quality, and that was just, like, truly more of an immersion trip, like, I got to be more of a local, and you I would have never visited there if it wasn't for my mom's friend Greg,
Right. Right.
whose family lived there, and a lot of his cousins lived there, and my mom and it was kind of a cool moment too, because I think a trip my mom talked about a lot growing up was going with Greg to Greece and going to Ikaria to visit his family and being there in college. Then I got to experience it after I graduated grad school, and he owns a bar there. So I got to spend the night like bartending for people from all over the world, everywhere. And that was really cool, and then we just had a lot of really cool, like, local moments where he taught everyone on the island English, which was cool, that was his
Oh,
thing, so
that's
he
neat.
he knew
Yeah.
everyone for that, and they are a communist island too, so that was really interesting.
Yeah. It was different.
Yep, and we just got to learn a lot, so we had a moment where we got to go to, like, a family-owned winery, and everything at the winery, everything we ate was grown from there, from the winery, and then they were doing, like, a documentary, so we were there and part of the documentary, which was just kind of like a cool moment, and it was gorgeous and stunning, and then he was good friends with someone who owned I actually don't even know what the name, but they made honey, essentially, and
Okay.
Ikaria has some of,
Yeah.
like, the cleanest honey because of their air quality,
Yeah.
and he would know a lot more about it, but so we got to go there and see how the honey was made,
Oh,
which was
neat.
really cool. So just a lot of, like, really special moments, and we moved incredibly slow, and he was like, "Slow down, like, we have nowhere to be, there is no rush." And then we met a few Americans actually who had visited and just didn't wanna leave.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they just
heck
fell
yeah.
in love and they
Yeah.
made friends, and, like, the winery we went to, they were, like, they were related to him, so
Oh,
we just got a lot of really, like, local experiences, so that was just and then we did, like, Santorini and Athens, and we did some tourist spots too when we were in Greece, yeah, but that was just, I think, a standout moment of, like, getting to kind of have more of, like, an immersion experience and something a little bit more local or what am I local,
Yeah,
is that the right word? Is that the
yeah,
word I'm looking for? I'm
yeah.
like, my brain
Like a
is not.
real experience versus you go to those
Yeah,
tourist.
like it
Yes.
authentic,
Yeah,
yeah, like you're
Yes.
authentic.
more immersed in the culture moment,
Mhm.
so and then I got to meet Greg, who I've heard,
Yeah,
like, so much about, so I also got to meet my mom's friend and
right.
have that experience with him, and I would love to go back and see him too, and then now I, like, stay connected with him and talk to him every once in a while through Facebook and reach out, and so made that connection too, so that was a
That
cool
is
moment.
yeah. That sounds
Yeah.
like an amazing trip.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that was awesome.
Mine's probably on the opposite side of that, and it's funny because I usually don't like going to major touristy
Uh-huh.
places, we kinda try to do what, you guys do is kind of get more immersed in the local side of things, especially longer trips where we know we're gonna be in a place, for
For a
a
long
while.
time, yeah.
However, my favorite trip and I have a lot that stand out, but we went on a cruise in 2017, I think, maybe 2018, and it just blew me out of the water because I think you hear a lot about cruises, people really talk them up, the hype, "Oh, it's unlimited meal, unlimited dining, unlimited this," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever, like, okay, it's probably not that great."
No.
Like, I don't know if I just had an absurd, like, amazing experience or what, but we got on this cruise and I mean, we would pull up to our little so we got the full cruise experience, right? Because I think we went on what's the real big party, like, it's pretty kid oriented. There's
Like
just always
Carnival?
is it Carnival or is it yes, I think it's Carnival.
Carnival? Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure we were on a Carnival, and so we got to do the big touristy cruise type stuff, but then my dad, when we would dock or when we port somewhere, my dad would take his family of 6, and he would drag us up the port, and he would find a local taxi driver, and he would pay them cash, like, out of pocket and tell him or tell whoever's driving us and say,
Yeah.
"You're gonna take us around the island for the day." And, I mean, we had this one and every taxi driver, like, my dad didn't know who they were, had not talked to them, had not booked them, like, just was like, "You're local? You live here? Alright, great. I'm gonna pay you, and you're gonna take us around." And so I don't know how we didn't get murdered, but, one of the I think the reason this trip stands out so much is because we would, eat endless food, endless ice cream on the cruise ship. We got the dinner shows every night. We got I got to try escargot. But then we would go to Belize and this local taxi driver took us to this literal stand, like wooden stand on the side of the road. It was dirt and there was a woman with a big black cauldron. I'm not even kidding.
Mhm.
And she was making cow stew and she was selling it by the bowl. And this cow stew had hooves in it. It had tongues in it. It had eyes. It had ears,
Oh,
right? So, like,
jeez.
and my dad made us all eat it. So, we were getting
You got your
very
balance on that
yes,
trip.
we got extremely, like, authentic local experiences. Like, this one guy took us by his house, and his family owned a fish farm.
Oh,
But
cool.
yes, but, like, very poor,
Yeah.
very poor family. I mean, his kids were out playing, and they seemed happy, so, I say that, and I'm also, like, I'm aware that culturally, like, they probably were doing well for their area. But, like, they didn't have electricity, they didn't have a washer dryer, their house was built with 2 by 4s, like, just wooden boards. And so we got that experience, and then, another taxi driver took us to a mango grove, or was it mango? Yes, it was mango. And he got out and he said, "My friend works here, and the guy who owns this plant." It was a plantation. He said, "The guy who owns this is, pretty rich." And so he's like, "My friend gave us permission to come and show you guys the property." So we got to go to the property, and the guy was slingshotting mangoes out of the trees for us.
Wow.
Best mangoes to this day that I've ever
Oh,
had.
I'm sure, yeah.
Right? And so
What islands were you guys stopping at?
yeah, so we went to Honduras, Roatan. So Roatan, Honduras,
Okay.
which was my favorite, just because that's where the mangoes were. It was just beautiful down there. And then we went to Belize, and then
Mhm.
that's a really sad story, actually, that country. I guess they have a lot of Chinese immigrants that have come over and bought up property. And so a
Okay.
lot of the Belize, like locals and natives, have basically been pushed out because they can't buy. So China owns most of Belize, essentially,
Crazy.
and their government is very corrupt and is selling them out, unfortunately. So it's not just the Chinese, it's, the
Yeah,
Belizean government is selling.
that's interesting because when we were in Nevis, our taxi driver was talking a lot about that and that
Uh-huh.
was starting to happen. Just a lot
Yep.
of fear of
Yes.
that
Yes.
happening and
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's really interesting. Okay.
Yes, yeah, and so but, like, Carnival and Royal Carib like, those cruise ships, they want you to stay on the front where they own all of the waterfront properties, and they own all the resorts that they've come in and built and kinda made to look good, but when you actually get into Belize, you can see holes in these people's houses from where, like, here's one board and then a gap, and here's another board, so then a lot of them don't have electricity. So we got to go to Belize, and then we got to go to Cozumel.
Okay.
So, yeah, and Cozumel was pretty neat. That was where they had the fish farm, I think. Belize and Cozumel were kinda similar in the sense of, like, how they kinda were structured and looked
Yeah.
like and stuff. Roatan just stood out to me because it's a beautiful island, essentially, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, it's all very natural, like
Lush.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yes, that's a great word to describe it, very lush. So and to this day, I've wanted to go on another cruise, and I'm trying to get my husband to go on a cruise with me before baby comes, but I don't know if that'll happen. So, I'd like to, but we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
It'll
Yeah.
be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's been my favorite. I just
You got a good
so much.
balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so much happened in 7 days, and I just am blown away by what they can do on a boat in 7 days.
Mm.
So, yeah. Yep. Like all the magic shows. I mean, they're
That's
corny, but
so
yes, but you
yeah.
just you get to go and at 3 a.m., you wanna go gamble, you can, you wanna eat ice cream, you can.
Yeah.
It's just there's, like time is not a thing on a cruise.
Yeah.
Like,
I've
I'm
never done
it's
a cruise.
yeah.
That's not something I
It's
have.
just like you slip
Not
into
against it. I
this
just haven't done it.
yeah, you just slip into this time warp,
I bet
like,
time
it's
is
like
disorienting. Yeah.
yes, in a good way,
In a
it's so much
positive
fun.
way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, my parents my younger siblings were I think they were 11 and 12 at the time.
Okay.
My parents didn't know where they were half the time. Yeah. Because they had, like, their club, so
Yeah.
they had, clubs split up for each age group, and they would go off and, like, they would be playing, golly, soccer outside
Mhm.
literally at 3:30 in the morning, and my
Mhm.
parents are sleeping. They don't care. They're like,
Go to your
"Where are they
club.
gonna go? Where are they gonna go?" And so they went with their club, and they would do events, and yeah, and me and my older brother, we would stay out late, we'd go to dances and
I was gonna
parties and
say
stuff.
cruise is actually something I think I would be okay doing with kids
Yes.
because
Yes.
there's so much for them to do and
So
so
There's
much
so much. Yep.
supervision
Yep.
for children too
Yes.
that I think actually as a parent that would
Mhm.
be really awesome to like have your kid
Yes.
entertain. It's a good balance for them and
Yeah.
you like
Yeah, and
uh
who cares if they stay up till 3 a.m. because they're gonna you know what I mean? They're gonna crash and they're not gonna miss anything because 'cause you're on a boat.
yeah.
They're
You
gonna
don't have
they're
an
gonna sleep
itinerary
through.
for
Yep.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah, it's fun. It was just really cool, and I think, my dad really enjoyed it because anytime that my dad does not have to plan or
oh,
stress or,
Yeah.
he's like, "Great, this is"
You just have
you
to
know?
get on the boat.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's like being a kid again, cause like, there's no responsibilities. 'Cause,
right.
yeah, you don't have to worry.
Yes.
I think the part I loved is, like, that you don't have to worry about paying for things because the food on the boat is free and all the
Mhm.
activities of the boat are free, and I
Yes.
truly felt like the weightlessness of, like, becoming adult, paying bills, and, like, always having to think
Yes.
about having all those pieces, that was a phenomenal part. Like, I
Yes.
did not expect for that to be so impactful, like, just to go to dinner and, like, I could just walk out when I'm done eating, like,
Mhm.
it was a cool
Yes.
feeling.
Did you guys make
Well
any friends while you were on the boat?
yes.
Yeah.
And my parents, I think, also had people that they would hang out with. So the fun thing about our cruise, I don't know if it's set up the same across others, but you actually sat with the same families every night for dinner.
Okay,
So you
cool.
got to actually really know your people that you were sitting with across 7
Yeah.
days, and, you got to hear about their day or their trip or what they got to
Oh, that's fun.
experience, and then you got to know where they came from and all that good stuff, so but something else that I was thinking of that I really and I was too young, but and I think I could be wrong, but I think do you have to be 18 to drink on and it might be depending on the cruise line,
Mhm.
but I think, like, once you're, like, international or whatever, like,
Waters,
if you're
yeah.
18 years old, you can drink alcohol, which I was 17, so it still didn't apply to me, but my dad had gotten us all the drink package, and let me tell you,
Jokes on a
this 17-year-old drank, like, 7 piña coladas, like, I mean, if that bar was open, I was over there, and me and my brother would come back, and we would sit on our little lounge chairs by the pool, and my parents are like, what number drink is this?" Because they knew. like, you know,
There's, like
so
there's definitely a
Pina
culture
colada.
it is a
a
culture.
culture on a cruise ship because they would make a lot of jokes that I'm like, "Okay, if people have been on cruises, there is obviously, like, these inside jokes, like,
Mhm.
if there was a game show and someone was, like, acting a fool, they'll be like, "You definitely got the drink package. You are on drink 15 of
Yeah.
the day," like, and
Yes.
I just didn't all of that stuff is just wild
Yeah.
too, like
Well, like, soft serve ice cream, my brother probably ate 2 gallons of soft serve ice cream. And I'm not even
no, that's
exaggerating,
so
like,
yeah.
I mean, that dude, anytime we were in the food area, that dude was getting chocolate ice soft serve ice cream.
Anything
So
that's all inclusive, it really
yes.
encourages that
It does.
behavior.
Well, yeah, you gotta get your money's worth.
I know,
I mean,
it
yeah,
encourages the
yeah.
behavior.
I would be so curious to know. I know they're not losing money, but I wanna know how much money is going into the food side of things.
Oh my
Because
gosh,
if
yeah.
and I feel like most people are buying the all-inclusives, you know? And so by that, you have to account for, well, on average, how much are people eating, you
Yeah,
know?
Yeah.
because some people are gonna take advantage and some probably won't even come close to maybe even hitting,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
I'm curious. I have no clue.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is, like, kinda going backwards, but I love that you talked about tourist culture and how, like I think this is the most like, going on a cruise is the most, like, touristy thing I feel like or trip I've ever taken because normally, like, with my family, we would just go hiking, like, we wouldn't really go to,
Yes.
like, touristy towns and do all of that, and I had, like, so many thoughts of, like, "Okay, this is, like, very contrived, and, like, this town is basically made for tourists." Like, what and when I would talk to, like, the locals, they'd be like, "Yeah, we close down when it's not cruise season because who else is gonna be here? Like, this town is
Mhm.
made for tourists to go," and, like and I think that's such a cool experience. You got to, like, go out and see reality
Yes.
of, like, "Okay, this is how we're making money in this area, but actually this is not how we
Mhm.
typically live." Like,
Right.
that
This
would
is
be
not how
so
the locals are
impactful.
living. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, like, my favorite places in Alaska were, like, the smaller towns, but it was interesting because Taylor and, like, some of his family, like, they love the tourist towns, like, they
Mhm.
love I mean, there's no right or wrong as a human, so I
Yes,
liked how
yeah,
there was both, it was
yeah.
so fun.
And yes, and I will say, like, as I've gotten older, I think I appreciate tourist things more rather than less because there is something fun about being corny and, getting the t-shirt and like I think about Pigeon Forge all the time. Like it is fun to go like we went to downtown Flavortown. That's not a local restaurant. That's Guy Fieri, but my gosh, he's got killer black and or Cajun chicken pasta. Like it's great. Like wow, I love being a tourist or whatever. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And when traveling, there's a lot of safety in that, like, being
Yes.
in
Oh,
it
yeah.
and comfort in being in, like, "Okay,
Yes.
this is tourist, all this is kind of new for all of us, or all of us
Yes,
maybe don't know what
yes.
we're doing," and there's
Yeah.
just safety in it because,
Yes.
like, this is where all the tourists
Yes.
go,
Yeah.
so, like, someone's gonna help me or someone else is gonna be confused with me,
Yes.
where not as much, like, if we're getting
Mhm.
into maybe a more local
Yeah.
area.
Well, and all the tourists get to connect.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, we're all in Japan together,
Yeah.
and we're all not from Japan, so we're all just kinda like, oh, yeah, we're in this zone or this bubble."
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the word safety a lot.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
you're
And not that that means, like, don't go venture out and go to local
absolutely.
places, but, like, there is some just, like, safety in that of, like,
There
this
is,
is
yeah.
I know this, I can
Yep.
research this, I
Yeah.
can look at a TripAdvisor
Yep.
Mhm.
review, like,
Yes,
there
yeah.
is safety in that when you don't
Yeah.
know where you are,
Yeah.
and traveling is, like, fun, and, like, there's a lot of stressful and weird and scary moments too because you don't know what you're
Mhm.
doing, and you're
Yep.
so far out of your comfort zone.
Yes. Yeah.
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 Which is, like, where we grow and connect and
Yes.
learn new things and maybe make a friend along the way, but
Right.
there's
Yeah.
still that aspect to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It, like, opened up the part of me that loves history, and I didn't realize
Mhm.
that because I am, like I think I'm a negative Nancy with touristy things because, like, how I was raised, we wanted to have as little waste as possible, but Taylor's family, like, they love getting the magnets, they love getting the t-shirts, like,
Yeah.
no matter when they travel, I will always get a t-shirt from them. So I think it was fun to just, like, let go.
And just
Just, like,
enjoy
how
those.
like, I
Yeah.
like, get it it felt like a treasure hunt, like, finding the places where I truly felt like I was experiencing the culture of the place
Mhm.
versus, like, the theatrics or, like, things
Yes.
that bring people
Yes.
in, like, it was, like, the first bar in Alaska. There was such a cool, like you couldn't actually get things, but they made it into a museum and, like, talked
Oh,
about when
cool.
people first moved to I think was it Juneau? It was either Juneau or Skagway, like, how they moved because there was, like, a huge rush of gold that was
Yes.
found, and
Yes.
it was, like, very hush hush at first, and then
Mhm.
people found out more and more, so that they had to build a settlement to, like, hold all the humans, and
Yeah, because everyone was flocking there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and, like the introduction of the bar and of, like, gambling, like, they found their ways to, like, keep themselves entertained when it's super
Yes.
freaking cold and my life's on the line, and this is a dangerous feat I'm going it was just so cool, like, I love that part, like, learning about the history of
That
it.
is neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's a place you guys have visited that you, like, did not wanna leave? You're like, "I would live here if I could, if all of the stars could align."
Montana.
Montana?
I could
Yeah.
so see that for you.
Okay, why?
So we went to West Yellowstone, and that might actually be in Wyoming. Okay, Wyoming.
Okay.
So, yes,
Yeah.
so because the state I loved Montana too, but Wyoming was I went there and I was like, in an alternate universe, I would buy me a fat ranch in Wyoming. I would get buy like 6 or 7 horses and some cows, and I would just let them free roam, and then for fun, on my day to day, I would get on my horse and ride around and like, that's what I would do, is just look at my cows all day, and I would just look at the land and look at the mountains in the background, like, and I think I am just a lover of wide open.
Yeah.
Like, one of my favorite things about, Montana, Wyoming, all those places out there is, the highway speeds are 80
Yep.
because you're the only person on the road for 20, 30 miles, so who cares what you're doing,
Would
right? Like,
solve your road rage
Yeah.
issues.
it literally would. You know what? I'm glad you said that because I think that's another really big appeal for me is I wouldn't have to get stuck behind no slow-mo, like,
I know.
golly, and I could go 80 everywhere that I wanted to go, like, and I might hit one stop sign, Like, so but, the other part of that is their towns there are they're quaint, but, I mean, there are big towns. Like, there
Mhm.
are towns that have 90,000 people,
Okay.
but they still look small. I don't know if that makes sense. They
Mhm.
look cozy, they look inviting, they look very westerny, like, "Hey, everyone knows everyone," and obviously probably don't if there's
Yeah,
90,000 people living there,
that's
but
fair.
it's just that feeling, and I love their style. I don't know. They just strike me as very free people, not and I know that they have jobs, I know that they've gotta make a living the same way, we all do to a sense, but they just seem unburdened in the sense of, like, they don't care, Yeah, I don't know. It just felt very, very open, very, like, "This is yours."
Yeah, we need to
Yeah.
do that.
Mhm. So, yeah. But and I love Tennessee. I don't think I would ever actually leave to now, I say that. If something happened to my husband, I would probably go back up to where all my family is just because I'm very close to my family.
Mhm.
I don't like where they live, that area geographically, but I love my family enough that I would probably just go back up there and
Yeah,
live. So I don't
that's
think I
fair.
would stay down here,
Yeah.
but, I mean, I love the community that I've built here too, and it
Yeah.
would be hard to leave that. So, it wouldn't be something that I would just do.
Mhm,
Yeah.
it's fair.
Mhm. I could see you moving to that island and
I mean,
I mean, I don't know that
yes.
you that
I
that's
mean,
your
Josh
place,
and I
but
joked, we're like, "Should we just live here for the summer and, like, work at the bar and hang
Uh-huh.
out?" Like, I could very easily do that. Portugal was another place, like, when
Ooh.
I went to the Azores that I just didn't wanna leave because
What about Portugal?
yeah, I think it was just, like, such cool duality of, like, you would be driving down the road and you'd look to your right, and it would just be ocean.
Mm.
And then you would look to your left, and it would be hydrangeas and lush greenery and mountains, and I'm like, "How?"
Do they coexist like
Like that. Like, it's so
that?
cool, like, just, I look
Yes.
one way and then I look the other way, and there's
Yeah.
more cows on the island than there is people, which is just kind of like a weird,
Yep.
cool, funny
That is
fact, but I loved it there. Also, I don't think it was the first trip I ever took, like, independently from my family out of the country with, like, a group of girls, and I just had the best time with them, and we woke up every morning and we drank coffee in a little banana grove where all these
yeah.
bananas were growing.
It almost became like your ritual
Yes,
while you were there.
yes,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
there was chickens and bunnies jumping around and hanging out while we were
Yep.
drinking our coffee, and we're sitting in a banana grove, and every time I have, like, a hard day, I, like, text my cousin, like, "I just wanna be back in the banana grove drinking coffee." So, like, that was an awesome, epic trip and just a very, like, we just had some really cool experiences. We did, like, a few excursions, but we also just kinda took it day by day and what we wanted to do and how we were feeling, so that would probably be another place, and they have, like, black sand beaches there, and I love the beach, so I got to experience my first black sand beach, and then they also have just, like, regular beaches and a lot of just cool parts. The, geographical, like, landscape there was just really,
Mm.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That
love
sounds
just, like, experiencing the world where you just get to be in awe of something, to be like,
Mhm.
how is this real in front of me right
Yes.
now?" It is
Yeah.
just one of the coolest, like,
Yeah.
that's how I felt at Alaska. I'd, like, stare at the mountains, and I'd be like, "How is this real?" Like, I feel like I've seen this through a screen, and it just looks like it's unreal, and, like, that's how Portugal's like, every time you describe Portugal, I'm like, "It sounds, like,
Yeah.
unreal."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how
Like
I felt with Hawaii, like, the foliage there.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
like, "What do you mean this is a real plant? Like, what do you mean this just grows
I know.
wildly?
I know.
Like, excuse me?"
Yeah,
I
like,
mean
I'm at this little boutique hotel that had maybe 15 rooms, and then they have a little just banana grove. I'm
yes!
like, "What do you mean bananas are just
Yes!
growing right in the back
Yes!
here?"
We would pass coffee plants. I'm like, "That's a plant you could go get coffee beans
Yeah,
from."
that
I'm like, "What?" Or, like, the little, like, the plants that look real spiky, but then they've got the most gorgeous flower on top. I'm like, You're telling me that's real? Like, Disney didn't just make that up?" Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Munich, Germany
Mhm.
surprised me. That was a sleeper I didn't
Okay,
expect,
okay.
but it is, like, the cleanest city I've ever been to and the most safe I've ever felt as, like, a female walking around the city. So, like, I do think, like, genuinely I could live
Yeah,
in Munich. I, like, really liked
that's
Munich.
awesome.
So, that was the one that just kinda surprised me. I didn't
Mhm.
even we went for Oktoberfest, and I just thought, like, we're going for Oktoberfest
Oktoberfest.
to do, like,
Yeah,
a tourist thing and experience it, but, like, I didn't think I was gonna,
yeah.
like the city as much as I did. So that was really cool.
That's
So those are mine. What about you, Amanda?
I don't think I've traveled to, like, the place that I feel like would be home yet. Like, I love going to North Carolina to see my sister, but I think the moment I get to, like, go out of the country will be that moment I feel that, just because my dad being born in Germany, I've always been drawn, always wanted to go to Germany or even go to, like, the Netherlands or some
I could see you
I
thriving
would
in the
freaking
Netherlands.
thrive, and I just hearing my dad talk about his childhood because he lived by the Rhine River, and in that area of Germany, the, like what is it called? All the plants are very similar to, like, the Mediterranean, and, like, hearing him talk about the Rhine River, how gorgeous it was, like, how he would go on these adventures and just it sounded like a fairy tale, and he was a kiddo, so he made it all. It was a fairy tale. So I think that it hasn't happened, but I think the moment I go and get to explore will be
Yeah.
phenomenal. And I one of my challenges is I really want to learn German again. I know very basic German, and I used to know a lot more because I love Carl Jung, as you guys know, and they're like you can go to his like official school in Germany, but I need to learn some German to be able to go and that's like my dream. I want to do that so bad.
I have a friend who lives in the Netherlands, and she used to send us pictures and stuff, and it just strikes me as a place that you would actually really
Yeah,
love,
or do
just because
that.
of, like, the waterways and how they live over there, like, it just seems
Hope you
beautiful.
can ride a bike.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes!
Yep.
That's what I loved
Yep.
about I was really shocked. Seattle, Washington was like this, and then Victoria, like, in Canada was in Canada. Everything is so eco. Like,
Mhm.
everything they use, like, bioplastic everything.
That's how
They
Munich was.
compost. I would die, and I feel like this might be a good challenge for everyone, but I was when we were in Seattle, we walked everywhere, and we were walking to Pier Park, and we went through an area that was really struggling. There were, like, lines of tents where,
Mhm.
like, homeless people were living, and then, like, I got to see so many different parts of the city, and I think it would be a really cool challenge to say, like, how can you find, no matter where you live, no matter what the condition is, like, some amount of awe, some amount of beauty? Because I noticed that in Seattle, that there was so much art, and they would create these, like, little pockets where, like, the city, there's no trees anywhere, but they would just create these beautiful little garden spaces or, like, a
Mhm.
pickleball court in the middle of, like, the city, and I thought 'cause I don't feel very at home in a city, so
Right.
I look for those spaces, and I loved it. It made me just love the people who, like, think about creating the soft edges.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because I know not all humans get to choose where they live right now, so just
Mhm.
finding, like, the beauty, some piece that you can just cherish, like, wherever you live would be
Mhm.
super cool as a challenge. I don't know
Yeah.
if you had other ones, but
Yeah.
he's on my mind.
Yeah. No, and that's what, like, I think back to kind of where I grew up, because so I grew up in a small town, and it's one of those towns where not many people move to, but if you do live there, you've probably been there for generations and generations. So, my dad's grandpa's grandpa grandpa, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they said
Papa, papa,
yes,
papa.
like, great, 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 whatever. They settled that. Like, they're part of the reason why there's even a town there.
Yeah.
You know, and so same thing for my mom's family. Like, my mom's dad is, you know, I think a second generation farmer in that family. And so, you know, his dad's dad was there. And so then his dad was a farmer and now he's a farmer. So maybe that's I don't know. But anyway, and so, you know, and now his kids are farmers and then it's just like very deeply rooted to that town. And so for that, I do have that appreciation. You know, there's not much that I like about that town or that city, and there's not much appeal to live there. But like Amanda was saying, it is, you know, I think it is important. I think it's a good skill to practice of finding those things that you do cherish and, you know,
Yeah.
and to find and appreciate. So no matter where you're at,
Yeah.
because some people don't get to choose, you know, some people don't have the finances to move, or some people don't have the reason to move, you know, and they're established or something. So something that I was thinking about, because I know we're all kind of maybe transplants, if you will,
Mhm.
but, you know, what about the travel in maybe the unromantic travel, like the traveling home to see family, or the traveling home to, you know, connect with others that you've grown up with. Like I know I know a large portion of people that I grew up with went from pre-K all the way through high school and still live back in my hometown, you know, so when I travel home, I see those people, which is always kind of I don't know why, but it's always feels so weird, like
Yeah.
an out of this world experience, you know, like a so I was curious if you guys have also noticed that. Like, do you guys notice that you're traveling for that connective piece? You know, are you guys traveling for that reason?
I feel like what you're speaking to is, like, almost that feeling when you go back in time. Like, when you're with
Mhm.
family and you feel like a kid again or you
Yeah.
behave
Yeah.
like we used to. Like, we would drive to, like we lived north of Chicago, so we'd always drive through the city, and we would go, like, at least once a year. A lot of the
Mhm.
times twice a year. And I think it's so strange how, like, anytime we drive through, I always feel the exact same way. Like,
Yeah.
almost in awe, but especially being an adult, you just have a different perspective of life in general. So I think
Yes.
that's a cool piece. Like, the way I see the city is different, and the way I see where my grandma lives, she lives, like, in a very rural town, which is so
Mhm.
interesting how you can have this huge city, such a different life, and then go outside and, like, farmland
Yes.
everywhere.
Illinois is
Yeah.
pretty good at that, I
It's
feel
so
like.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Midwestern states.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of it messes with your mind. It's just so
Mhm.
weird just to see things through the adult perspective.
Yeah.
It's, like, very just nostalgia everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our bodies remember.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's really, like, a cool part. I mean, I do a lot of traveling to, like, connect with the ones
Yeah.
that I love for sure.
Because
And
'cause
then
you've got a lot of
there's
friends that also, like, you went to college with and have
yeah.
moved,
And
right?
funny enough, most of the people that I am, like, pretty connected to have moved or left our area as well, and then
Mhm.
we come back. It's, like, can be a home base at times. It can be a fun, like, "Are you gonna come for Thanksgiving? I'll try to get there a
Yeah.
day early if you're gonna be around." And I still have people too that are still there that I'm connected to. My favorite part is driving again when I get home, like, driving the back roads again, like
Like, you're so familiar with?
yes, and,
Yes.
like, I am pretty directionally challenged, but, like, I go home and I still remember, like, where I'm going and what it because I learned to drive there, I think it's, like, deeply ingrained, but I where I grew up, there is a lot of farmland and a lot of back actually, everything is back roads, like,
Mm.
I just traveled home from my bridal shower, and Josh's parents were like, "Is there a highway? Like, is there a" and I'm like, "I can get you to a pretty major highway pretty quickly, but everywhere we're gonna go, we're gonna take
Back
back
roads.
roads."
Yeah.
It's just, like, where I live. So, yeah, going down the switchbacks, I'm like, "Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, it's funny how I remember it," or, like, it just
Yes.
kinda comes back to you. So but, yeah, I think it is weird how you feel like you go back into a time capsule, and moving so much, it's actually kinda how I organize my life, like, what area was I in, and then that reminds me of what age I was, which makes a lot of sense, obviously, but, yeah, there's so much connection in traveling.
Yes.
Just from the minute it starts. Like, if you get on a plane, whoever you sit next to I've had people who wanna talk to me the entire flight, people who put their AirPods in
Yeah.
immediately, we don't even introduce ourselves, like, it just kinda depends. So much camaraderie around all of us complaining about a flight getting delayed or
Yes.
all of us, like, trying to make a guess on why we
Yeah.
haven't gotten on the plane yet. So, like, starts the minute your travel starts, I think, connection, which is a really cool part about travel, and then there's so many, like, I feel like memories and road trips too growing up, like
Mhm.
finding ways to entertain ourselves and play games and yeah, so many memories and experiences wrapped up in travel too. I think we could go on and on about how travel
Yes.
creates
Yeah.
connection. So
Yes, and I'll kinda name and this can kinda be a wrap up if we want it to be, but I love that you brought up, travel if you're traveling on a plane, on a train, on a bus, some kind of mass transportation system, traveling is a great way to force a lot of strangers into a very similar situation
yeah,
quickly,
yep,
right? So, if a plane has 80 people on it and you guys are stuck out on the tarmac for 3 hours, you guys are in that together, and you guys
oh
are all
yeah,
miserable together, whereas, 3 hours ago, you didn't know who they were, and now you guys have something to complain about and to talk
mhm,
about and to connect over. It may not be the funnest, but it's something that,
we're
"Hey,
in it together.
you are feeling this because I'm feeling it,
Yeah.
and we've been here
Do
for
you have a
3 hours."
connection too? Are you gonna miss your connection flight? Do you know what
Yes.
gate we're landing in? I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, or, if you're on a boat and the boat, like on cruises, you can feel the waves rocking sometimes, and, all however many people that are on that boat are feeling that boat rock at the same time. You guys may never ever share another experience together, but by golly, you're gonna hit the waves together,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Weird
yeah.
experience I had when I flew to Portugal, I connected from Atlanta to Newark, New Jersey, and I
Mhm.
was meeting my cousins, and our flight got delayed pretty drastically, and there was one flight out to the Azores. So I was gonna have to wait 24 hours, and I was pretty sure I was gonna
Yeah.
miss my connection, and I was the last seat on the airplane. And I'm like,
No.
which it was a big plane. I'm like,
Yep.
it's gonna take me 25 minutes if
Right.
I'm lucky to get off this plane alone.
Yep.
And so I got really lucky and my flight to the Azores got delayed a little bit. So I'm like
Nice.
talking to the flight attendant and I'm like, I think I can make it. Like it is gonna be a
Yes.
dead sprint through this air. Like I think I can make it.
Yep.
And he got on the intercom and was like, we have one person on this flight who has a connecting flight and that she thinks she's gonna make it. So if everyone could stay seated and cheer her on. And I ran up the front of the
That
plane
is
and everyone's like,
amazing.
you got
Yes, yes.
it.
And, suddenly you had
A whole
plane full.
plane
Yes.
full of people, like, rooting for me to ma so I was like, "Oh, it's just a fun moment," right? Like, where humans just got to support other humans, and everyone's
Yes.
like, "Here she comes," because 'cause I'm like
Yes. Right.
everyone's like, "Who are they talking about?" And they're like, "There she is," and everyone's
Yes.
like, "Watch out, here she comes," and I'm, like,
Yes.
running up this plane, and
Uh-huh.
I did make my flight,
That's awesome.
luckily,
Right.
so
Awesome.
it all worked out, but,
Yeah.
like, there is so many funny moments and, like, cool moments like that too, where people really do
Yeah.
respect, like, I will stay seated if it makes everyone else means that everyone else making this connection is gonna
Yeah.
make their flight, or, like, talking about a cruise. I was flying out for my sister's 21st, and a bunch of people on this flight were all getting on the same cruise, and we were delayed, and they were all potentially gonna miss the cruise ship.
Oh
There's nothing you
my
do. Like, you miss a
gosh.
cruise ship,
Yeah, it's gone.
it's gone. There's
Yeah, they
nothing
don't
you can
turn
do.
around, there's not another alternative
No.
flight. Yeah.
And they got us on this plane, they took us off the plane, they put us back on the plane, we were delayed on the tarmac. I mean, it was a dis
Oh
and that's
god.
part of traveling, right?
Yep,
Like,
it is.
um,
Holy cow.
which I will say, you really learn about your connection when you travel with someone too, so we didn't
Holy
really
cow.
bring that up, but you do learn about that because there's a lot of unexpected and stressors, but seeing everyone who was getting on this cruise ship connecting with each other, like, I got in touch with the cruise ship, they can't wait, "Did you hear?" Like, we're trying to, like it was just
Yes.
so, like, cool to see everyone kinda
Working
connect
together.
and work together on that too, and
Yes.
like, "Okay, this is the fastest route, and I think if we just" and it was cool,
Yeah,
so,
that's really fun.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so for this week's challenge, Amanda, you had one. So you're talking about, just finding the small kinda spaces to appreciate where you're at?
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
we are talking about traveling, so maybe
Mhm.
if like our listeners have the ability to travel, maybe it is just like noticing the awe in the place you're
Yeah.
traveling. And if
Okay.
you don't have access to travel, maybe just seeing where you are, going to a new place,
Yeah.
going to a new park or a new store, or
Mhm.
like just seeing the place
Maybe traveling
different.
within your community
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
find different connection.
Yeah.
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 Go on
Yep.
a 20-minute drive and see if you can find something new.
Yes, and
That's
that's what I think
that's
a lot of
fun.
people forget too is, in the Knoxville area, you can go from Clinton to Maryville in 45 minutes if you get on Pellissippi.
And they're
So
totally different.
they're so different.
So,
They're very different
yeah.
towns and cities. And, Clinton has things that Maryville doesn't, and Maryville has things that Clinton doesn't. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like that. Maybe just like local travel,
Mhm.
but also being intentional with how you're connecting through that travel.
Did you learn some history about the area you're in?
Yes, yeah,
Ooh, I
yep,
love that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
yep,
even just traveled home and we have this place called Longwood Gardens, and I've been to Longwood a million times. I go for
right.
Christmas every year,
Mhm.
like, for the tradition, but I actually went through the DuPont house, which is the DuPont family started Longwood Gardens, and I'm like, I didn't even know this history. This has
Right.
been like a family tradition for the last 5 years that we go, but around Christmas I don't actually even know if the DuPont house is open
Gotcha.
during
So it's never
Christmas.
really
Like,
been relevant, maybe.
yeah,
Yep. Yep.
and it might actually be, and we just were looking at the
Yep.
Christmas lights when
Yep.
I walking through the DuPont house. But I walked through it and I'm like, oh wow, I just learned history about somewhere that I
Yeah.
live a mile from and lived 5 miles for my entire life. So there is so much to learn,
Yes.
even about where we live every
Even
day,
about, yep.
which is just, a cool moment.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, for sure.
okay. I love
Right.
that. Yeah. So even if you don't have access to travel like super far, just like
Yep.
learning something new about the area you're
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get to learn so much and connect to people who used to live where we live
Yes.
now, which is
Mhm.
really interesting. We
That's
didn't even
really
talk about like the history and the connection with
yes.
that when we travel. So,
Yeah, for sure.
all
For
right,
sure.
cool. I want to do another travel episode. I just think
Yes.
we could talk about so many different
I think so
things.
too.
So,
And I think
this
it's
has been
something that
fun.
we can take several different directions
Yeah.
with connection. So
Yeah. And I just love learning about what like vacation and travel looks like for
mhm.
you all. And I
Yes.
feel like I learned a
Yes.
lot about you guys on this episode. So
Yeah.
that was fun.
It was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I agree. So, all right. So you got your challenge. Thanks for tuning in and listening, and we'll catch you on the flip side for next week's episode.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Take
you
care.
guys.
As always, please remember you are someone's human connection and you are never alone. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis or emergency, please call 988 911 or a crisis response unit in your area. Disclaimer: the thoughts, opinions, and topics discussed in this podcast are not intended for mental health treatment, service, or diagnostic purposes. All opinions expressed are solely those of the host, co-host, and guests. Resources mentioned can be found in the written show notes. Thanks again for tuning in to the Human Reconnect podcast.